Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are going to get started here very soon. We do have a welcome poll up. We'd really welcome you to complete that, please, and invite you to complete that. And we'll get started here in just a little bit. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you'd like. And like I said, we'll get started here fairly soon. We just want to give some people some more time to enter into the webinar today. Thanks again. All righty. In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and get started today. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Matt Dietrich. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Penn State School of International Affairs. Today, we're hosting a webinar on general admissions topics and some tips and tricks, a little bit of that on how to get into our program or to apply rather, as well as going over the curriculum and various opportunities that our students engage in while they are a student at the School of International Affairs. I'm joined today by my colleague, Christy Percio, who is the Director of Admissions, and she will largely be in the chat answering your questions as we go along today. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first item that I want to address, some housekeeping items, is we do want to answer all of your questions today. We have a lot of information that we can go over, so you can either hear me blab on for 35 minutes, or you can steer the conversation and we can answer your questions along the way. Either is fine. It's up to you. And so if you'd like to ask questions during our time today, we just ask that you please use the question and answer function within Zoom as opposed to the webinar chat so that we can get to your questions in an orderly and timely way. If you use the chat, sometimes we can get a little lost and it's hard to keep track of those sometimes, especially when it's busy in there. So please use the Q&A box to the best of your ability, and let's go ahead and get rolling. And if you're filling out the welcome poll, we do appreciate that. I am going to end it. So if you're in the middle of it, I apologize. But we'd like your attention to be on the webinar specifically. And we do thank you for your participation in that. We really enjoy getting to know you just off of the bat here. Great. So let's get started. Again, today we're talking about the Penn State School of International Affairs Master of International Affairs degree program. Therefore, if you are here to learn about any other program other than the Master of International Affairs, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to answer any questions about that. We only represent the Master of International Affairs program, and so I do apologize if you came here looking for another Penn State program. We don't have answers to those questions, unfortunately. So first, let's start out talking about Penn State and the School of International Affairs. Some fast facts about SIA, and I'm going to, instead of saying School of International Affairs for the duration of the webinar today, I'm going to say SIA. So just wanted to make that clear in case that is confusing. So to start, SIA offers a professional master's degree in international affairs. What this means is that we are focused on helping students get the skills that they need to get a job once they graduate. We are different than an academic driven program where you may be working on a lot of research and writing in order to go on to get a PhD and then potentially get a job in academia specifically. To be super clear, we do help students go on to get PhDs after they leave our program, but the vast majority of our students are interested in getting a job once they graduate in international affairs, broadly speaking. Our Master of International Affairs degree program really is, if you boil it down to brass tacks, a public policy degree with an international focus. Not all of our graduates are working in public policy, but in large part, we are a public policy program with that international focus. The School of International Affairs is a distinguished member of the Association for Professional Schools of International Affairs. Largely, what this means is we are a part of a consortium of schools of international affairs globally, which consists of about 35 or so schools internationally. And it just speaks to the rigor, prestige, and quality of our program and our faculty. It's really tough to become an APSIUM member. It requires a lot of work and paperwork, if you will, on the administrative side of things. And we have to prove that we're a quality enough program to be a part of this consortium, and we're really proud to be a part of it. And so if you decide you want to come to Penn State, the School of International Affairs, you're really going to be joining a very quality program that helps students with their career ambitions. We offer an interdisciplinary, flexible, and customizable curriculum. It's interdisciplinary in the way that students can touch on a lot of factors of international affairs while they're in our program. It's flexible and customizable in such a way that you can really take a variety of electives to form a concentration of your choosing, or choose one of 12 concentrations that we have put together for you. But even within the concentrations that we have put together, you can choose the variety of courses that you want to form that particular concentration. And I'll talk a little bit about that in the slides to come. We also offer education abroad. We're one of few graduate programs in the United States that allows students to study abroad. Of course, if you're an international student and you come to Penn State, this will be study abroad. But if you're interested in going abroad while you're abroad, that is absolutely possible. I know when I was studying abroad in college, I was abroad and then I went abroad again. So it's absolutely possible. And of course, if you're a student from the United States and you haven't had the opportunity to study abroad, or you really enjoyed going abroad in your undergraduate program, you can do that again or for the first time through our program. There are about 25 different locations globally that our students can participate in, and we work with you to make it so that you're earning graduate credit while you're abroad. Maybe you're studying another language, but it does not delay your graduation. And our academic advising team will make sure that that's true. We have elite experienced faculty, and I touched a little bit about this when I discussed our affiliation with APSIA. But our faculty come from a wide range of public servants, such as former U.S. ambassadors or folks who have worked in the CIA or the White House, but also faculty members that are scholars in their respective fields. One thing I really like to talk about our faculty, or when I talk about our faculty, one thing I really like to touch upon is some of them have careers in public service. Some of them are simply just scholars in their respective fields, but some of them have a bit of both. Not only are they scholars, but they do have real world experience working on the issues in which they are experts in. And I think that really enriches the classroom experience, bringing practice and theory together. And we boast an over 90% career attainment rate within 1 year of graduation. Right now, it is at a 93.8% career attainment rate within 1 year of graduation for all of our graduates. Let's talk a little bit about our flexible curriculum. So first, students can choose one of 12 concentrations or completely create their own. And that is in line with the second bullet point here. If you create your own concentration, well, in both cases, if you choose one of our 12 or you create your own, you can still take classes anywhere at Penn State University in any graduate department that offers classes related to your concentration. So we have students taking classes in the business school here at Penn State, or the political science department, or the history department, Asian studies, Latin American studies, et cetera, to form a concentration of their choosing. And again, our academic advising team will help you navigate the course catalog here at Penn State, which is very vast and thorough, to identify courses that are interesting to you and meet your career and academic ambitions. You can complete electives abroad as well. As I stated, there are about 25 different locations that you can study abroad in. And what this means is while you're abroad, you can complete classes towards that concentration. So, for example, if you go to Amman, Jordan, and you're interested in Middle East studies as a concentration, of course, classes that you take there will automatically fill into that concentration. And again, this can be true for whatever country you decide you want to participate in education abroad. You can add on a graduate certificate as well. I think this is a really attractive option for many students, especially ambitious students who are interested in not only getting the master's degree, but walking away from Penn State with a master's degree and a certificate in a particular subject, field, or discipline to really increase the amount of credentials that they have as far as when they go to apply for jobs. A lot of our students are doing online or residential certificates. This does not add time on to your degree program. You really take these certificate classes in lieu of electives for a concentration. So, for example, if you're interested in international security studies and you want to get a concentration in Homeland Security, you could take the Homeland Security certificate and you would have a master's degree in international affairs with a concentration and certificate in Homeland Security. That's just one minor example. There are plenty of certificates offered on Penn State's Royal Campus. And again, our advising team will assist you through this process. You can start or perfect a foreign language. Many of our students come in, I would say about 50% of our students come in knowing another language other than their native language, and about 50% of our students come in not knowing any other language other than their native language. And at Penn State, specifically at SIA, we require you to have the fourth level completed of any language, which we deem to be intermediate proficiency. So if you come to Penn State having only taken Spanish 1 and 2 at your undergraduate university, you can take Spanish 3 and 4 here at Penn State, and you'll have met our requirement. If you have already met that requirement at your undergraduate university and you want to either continue that language or learn a completely new language, that opportunity is available to you as well. And again, with education abroad, you can only get better with that immersion. Every student is required to complete a capstone, whether that be a master's paper or internship. Most people are doing the internship due to the professional nature of our program and just getting those real world skills and connections that you can get through an internship to make you more marketable on the job market. Master's paper, neither is right or wrong. Some students choose the master's paper, especially if they're interested in PhDs or other venues that will require maybe a greater writing portfolio or something like that. All right, so let's pivot a little bit and talk about why come to Penn State. It is a big university, and it's an attractive university, but I want to talk a little bit about why students will want to come here. Well, first of all, it is a top 100 global university according to U.S. News and World Report, as well as topuniversities.com, and of course, Times Higher Education has ranked Penn State in the top 100 global universities according to their algorithm as well. Penn State does boast the largest alumni association globally. There are over 174,000 dues-paying members of the Penn State Alumni Association and over 720,000 alumni worldwide. Why is this important? Well, it's not always about what you know in the job market. It's about who you know sometimes. And with a large alumni network like this, it is possible that you'll meet Penn Staters virtually anywhere in the world. I have personal stories on how this is true. I've heard so many personal anecdotes about how this is true as well. But the networking is so vast with the Penn State Alumni Association. There's virtually an alumni chapter in every major U.S. city throughout the United States. And I'm learning that there are Penn State alumni chapters popping up even around the world. I just learned recently that there are some in some of the major cities within India. So you can connect with Penn Staters virtually anywhere that you are. And this allows you to open up doors that you may not have thought possible. And speaking to the Alumni Association, what this means is you being a part of the Alumni Association means that you're part of a network of very excited people who want to help other Penn Staters out. And you just don't get that at every university. SIA specifically has a global community. SIA attached to Penn State has a global community, and it is centrally located. We are located between four major U.S. cities, DC, Philadelphia, New York, and Pittsburgh, but we're also located close to an international city, which is Toronto. And we do have students that go to Toronto frequently. I just learned a few of our international students went to Niagara Falls over the fall Thanksgiving break, which I thought was pretty cool to learn about. And Penn State is a top 10 school in the US for international student enrollment. So if you are an international candidate on this webinar today and you're nervous about coming to a large university like Penn State, have no fear. Penn State is super welcoming to really everybody, but international students especially can feel welcome, safe, and at home here. It is ranked the eighth best college town in the United States. And even though it's large, a lot of people can feel welcome and at home here by finding various affinity groups, clubs, and organizations. So why specifically the School of International Affairs? And I did touch upon some of this earlier, but I'm going to reiterate some facts about SIA here to really hone in why you should choose to come to SIA. Well, first, you have full access to an excellent university. Penn State is again vast. There are a lot of resources here and opportunities to be engaged and participate in various activities. And being a part of SIA does not mean that you're removed from that. What's nice about SIA is that we are a bit detached from the university. So we have our own building and own library and things like that. So you can stay away from the madness that is a major undergraduate institution, or you can do a little bit of both, be detached for a little bit and then go onto campus and participate in all of the happenings and goings on there. You get support from every angle here at the School of International Affairs specifically. This means that you have advising in a lot of different facets. Every student is going to have an academic advisor to put together your academic plan so you can successfully graduate on time. You'll also have a career advisor, someone who will help you with your your cover letters, your applications to internships and jobs, interview prep. Our Director of Career Services also takes students to DC, New York every fall and spring for career exposure trips to meet with employers, as well as to engage with our alumni, our SIA alumni, that live in those cities. Over 70% of our alumni actually live in DC and work in DC, and about 20% in New York. And so this really gives us the opportunity to tap into the Penn State Alumni Association, as I was talking about earlier, and meet young, thriving alumni that have graduated recently from our program and who are successful in their current jobs. And then your final advising piece would be a faculty mentor, someone that you can lean on for advice as far as jobs, the skills that you need, and maybe tap into their networks as well. We also have peer and alumni mentorship. Every first year student is going to be paired up with a peer mentor. This is a second year student who will help you get ingrained with graduate school life, as well as maybe overcome some of the imposter syndrome that is very real and prevalent among first year students in some cases. And then, of course, we have an alumni mentorship program where you can opt into this program to be mentored by a current alumni of ours that is in the job market. They're in the field working, and someone you can bounce ideas off of and maybe tap into their networks as well. Again, education abroad is a big selling point of our program, and I think that this is important, especially for international affairs students, to be immersed in another culture, learn another language, and just kind of maybe get outside your bubble a little bit to learn more about the world. And I think that's super important, especially in today's world. Again, networking through the Penn State Alumni Association and SIA career trips. And we have a tight-knit, diverse, and global community. Almost every class of ours has about 20% international students. And I do see a question here about how many students are enrolled in SIA, and I think that's a great segue into that question. So I'm going to get to that here in a second. But again, about 20% of every class that comes into SIA is international students. We have students from all different walks of life, backgrounds, experiences, from professional volunteer and leadership experiences, and so many more. One thing that I always say is yes, you'll learn from our faculty who are really great, super knowledgeable with a lot of experience, but students also learn from each other. The classroom environment here at SIA is very collaborative. Students will engage in a lot of discussions, group projects, and presentations. And from that, students can learn from each other. And I think students learn more from each other than they do their professors by virtue of the collaboration within the classroom. That leads me to the question asked by one of our guests today. The question is, roughly how many students are enrolled in SIA? So every year we have about a class of 60 to 70 students. Therefore, between the two cohorts of first and second year students, anywhere from 120 to 140 students total. So it is small. And I think what this allows our students to do is engage with our faculty more on an individual basis. The classrooms are more intimate, so it really does help create discussion. And you'll be able to build friendships and networks while you're in the program, given how small the class sizes are. Our core classes, anywhere from 25 to 50 students in a core class. Our electives, 5 to 25, depending on the popularity of the elective, the professor, the subject, those types of things. And so that's within SIA specifically. If you take a class across campus, at the 400 level, the senior 400 level, or even graduate courses, those electives could be about 40 to 45 students specifically. Okay. Thank you for that question. And of course, the last point here about why SIA is our students get jobs. And I think it's just speaks to the quality of our program, the support through career services, the connections that we have in the real world to help get students jobs. All right, let's talk about why you're probably here, the application requirements, how to apply. I am going to go through this fairly quickly. We do have one webinar in the future coming up in December that is really going to break down how to apply and put together a successful application. I'm going to touch on a little bit of those things here, but really I just want to get the information to you on how to apply, and please do your due diligence of perusing our website, dissecting it, and making sure that you are clear on what is required of you to successfully put together an application for admission. So first, let's talk about important deadlines. And if you're taking notes or you want to screenshot some of these things so that you have them, this is a great time for that. So the first deadline is January 31st, and this is for merit-based scholarship consideration. In order to be considered for merit-based scholarships at the School of International Affairs, you must have an entirely completed application by January 31st of 2024 by 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. If you apply after this, that's okay. We don't recommend it because we can't guarantee that there will be scholarships or seats available to you. So we really, really, really want you to apply by January 31st. Um, that's for best consideration, specifically for merit scholarships. And I'll talk about what merit scholarships mean in the next couple of slides. Our final deadline for admission is March 21st, 2024. Again, we can't guarantee at this time that there will be any scholarships available. It's likely that there won't be. And we can't guarantee that there will be seats available. Typically at around this time, our class is full, but there could be some seats available. Really focus on that January 31st deadline. After March 21st, admission is rolling based, and it's really based again on seat availability. So how do you apply to our program? First, you need to visit our website. On our website, we flesh out all of the requirements and what we're asking of you in each requirement as well. So please go to our website, particularly this link. If you Google search us, you'll find us fairly easily. But go ahead to our website and you'll see all of these requirements. And this is why I'm going to go through this fairly quickly to get to your questions, but also because you can see it online. So the requirements are as follows. We need a current resume or CV. We'd really like you to highlight, of course, your education, any professional experience that you may have. If you don't have a lot of professional experience, we also then want to see your leadership and volunteer experience. If you have any publications that you want to list on your resume, please go ahead and include those as well. Any research you've done with a faculty member, and that's fine too. Nothing is really off limits. We want to make sure, though, that your resume is relevant and that the information that you're providing us makes sense for our program and include all of that as well. We're not really concerned about the one-page resume. We understand at this point in the game, you are all very involved and have a lot going on in your lives. So please include all relevant information that you think is necessary to make you stand out in the application when you apply to our program. We do need a copy of your official transcripts. There's a lot of confusion around official transcripts when applying. Ultimately, we need just a copy of the official transcripts. Sometimes your universities will call this the unofficial transcripts, but please make sure that your transcripts are stamped by the university and signed by the registrar, the provost, whoever it needs to be. Make sure that they are at least a copy. Official transcripts become unofficial or a copy of the official transcripts when they get into your possession. So that's really all we need on the application itself. If you make it through the admissions process, you'll need your university to send the transcripts, but in the application stage, please just a copy of the official transcripts. If you're an international student, sometimes it'll be required of you to submit your degree certificates, or diplomas and things like that. There's a database online that will tell you what you need to submit based on the country in which you've earned your degree. So please make sure you are aware of those requirements. If you're from the US, typically your unofficial transcripts or whatever your registrar calls it, a copy of the official is necessary upon application. The statement of purpose is the most important part of the application because this gives you the opportunity to really tell us more about yourself that is not obvious on the resume or CV, or to flesh those things that you've done out on from the resume or CV. There are 2 prompts on our website. We want you to pick one of those prompts, stick to it. Ultimately, what we're looking for is, what happened in your life that you have come to this point and you want to get a master's degree in international affairs? Why do you want to come to Penn State, and what about Penn State and the School of International Affairs specifically draws you to this university to get a master's degree, and what do you want to do with that degree? So we want to make sure that you've seriously considered us and that you've seriously considered what you want to be when you grow up, in short. I know that's a loaded question. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do. We don't need a 50-year timeline or 25-year timeline, but give us a broad idea of the type of work that you want to take on once you graduate from our program, and that you've seriously considered SIA. This means going on our website, learning about the classes that you can take, learning about the opportunities you can engage in. What are you excited about, particularly with SIA? What professors do you want to meet, or what professors do you want to take classes from? So make sure that you are aware of what we do here at SIA, and try to weave that in your response in the statement of purpose. The statement of purpose is like cover letter length, anywhere from 500 to 750 words. If you write more than that, I think that that's okay. Please don't write us a book. Our committee has a lot of statements of purpose to read. If you write less than 500 words, that's not a great recipe for success. My final piece on the statement of purpose is, do not plagiarize the statement of purpose. Please don't copy and paste your statement of purpose from other programs and then just change the name around. We're really good at detecting that. But also, we will run all statements of purpose through plagiarism software. And if we see that it is plagiarized to a certain degree, that is grounds for denial of admission, regardless of the rest of your application. So I want to make that super clear. Please make sure that it is your own work and that you're really speaking to your readiness to take on graduate level work. We need the contact information for 2 letters of recommendation. We really prefer it that you have at least one faculty recommendation or academic recommendation. If you have a professional recommendation that you'd like to include on the application, that's fine. 2 faculty recommendations is probably the most preferred, but at least one is preferred nonetheless. We understand if you've been out of undergraduate work for a couple of years and you only have professional references, that's fine. We'll be able to see that on your resume as well. These letters of recommendation should speak to your ability to take on graduate level work. We have a prompt for them that they'll get once you submit the application. And so please keep them aware of that. Sit down with your letter of recommendation now. Don't wait until January 20th. It's not a great idea. Make sure you talk with them now, especially if you're thinking about applying to our program, so that they have time to write you a good quality letter of recommendation. We also need you to complete our program specific questions at the end of the application. Believe it or not, some people skip some of these questions, and we do not recommend that you do that. It is super important that you complete those questions thoroughly and you do them well, because they are part of the review process. For international students, we do need proof of English proficiency. We need either the official TOEFL or IELTS exam scores. We cannot accept Duolingo English test scores. There are a list of countries that Penn State automatically waives of this requirement. That is on our website. Once you go to our admissions page, you will find a list of countries that are exempt from English proficiency scores. If your country is not on that list, unfortunately, there is no other exemption process. You must have submitted IELTS or TOEFL exam scores at the minimum in order to be considered eligible for admission. Your conferred degree must be comparable to a U.S. 4-year bachelor's degree. Sometimes this means your undergraduate degree plus a postgraduate diploma or additional credits outside of your undergraduate degree. Please make sure that you're looking through our website to determine how much you need in order to be qualified and eligible. All right, let's talk about tuition, because this is a question we get quite frequently. If you're an out-of-state and international student, your potential billable expenses will look as such. The reason why we show you this is because we want you to be aware of the potential investment that you'll be making into your future and your education. If you want to continue on in life, investments need to be made. And so here are what you may expect on your tuition bill should you come to Penn State. You'll see that there's a difference between the fall and the spring semesters. Typically, in the fall semester in your first year, students will take 12 credits, and you'll see the 12 credit rate there in the fall. In the spring semester, you will likely take 9 credits, although a lot of times students take 12 or more credits, which would just increase the price of tuition there, the cost of tuition. It is required of all students to maintain at least 9 credits to be full-time status. If you're an international student on a visa, this is especially true. And at 9 credits, you can see in the spring semester, the 9 credit rate of tuition. We get a lot of confusion on this. From 9 to 12 credits, there is an increase in tuition. From 12 to 18 credits, it is the same price. Your non-billable expenses or your estimated cost of living is as follows, and that likely doesn't change. It changes maybe a little bit here and there, but that is the typical cost of living. For international students, this is important, and I'll discuss this in a minute. Your non-billable expenses, though, can fluctuate, right? It just depends on how you live, your lifestyle, the type of place you live in, if depending on where you shop for clothes and groceries, et cetera, et cetera. So this can fluctuate. Books, especially in our program, I can't imagine are $920 a semester. Most of our professors are charitable and will make sure that you don't need to buy $920 worth of books, specifically at SIA. And this comes out to about $55,000 per year. Again, this is variable, and it just depends on how many credits you take, as well as your lifestyle. If you're an in-state student or a Pennsylvania resident, everything I said applies. All of the nuance that I said applies, but this is what you might expect to pay should you come to SIA, and your estimated total cost per year with living expenses. Again, billable expenses will show up on the bill, on your tuition bill. Your non-billable expenses, again, it's up to you what you pay for most of this, but it will not show up on your bill at all. Some important tuition notes. The rates I just showed you are for 2023-2024, and they're subject to an increase in July 2024. Typically, we see about a 3% increase, but we won't know until July. Again, your non-billable expenses are estimates based on the local cost of living. The tuition rates that I showed you are 12 credits for the fall and 9 credits in the spring. International students, this is extremely important. Regardless of the amount of credits that you're enrolled in, you will need to provide a financial guarantee in order to receive the I-20. The I-20 is absolutely vital for your visa interview. Without the I-20, you can't sit for a visa interview. For 2023, the financial guarantee was about $59,600 at the University Park campus. And this, again, is important. Our global programs office will work with you. If you're admitted into our program, we'll work with you to get these things settled. But I wanted to be upfront and transparent with you. The upfront cost of tuition in order to receive the I-20. This is very vital. Okay, now that we talked about what it may cost you to come here, let's talk about the scholarships awarded through the School of International Affairs. First, over 70% of all admitted students last year receive some form of scholarship from SIA. So there's a high likelihood if you apply that you may fall within that 70%. Scholarships are limited, they're not guaranteed, and they're completely based on the merit of your application. We can't guarantee any scholarship for any student, and we can't say in a preliminary review if you're eligible for any scholarships. Due to the holistic nature of our review process, we need to see an entire application, and after the review, we can determine the level of scholarship that you deserve based on the quality of your application. Scholarships can, not always, but can discount tuition up to about 60%. This is for our very top applicants, star-studded applicants who do a really, really good job on the application and show us that they are committed to coming to SIA. They could see about a 60% tuition discount through our merit-based scholarships. But I would say the average is about 15 to 40% of a tuition discount, maybe 15 to 50% tuition discount, depending on your residency, et cetera, through merit-based scholarships. International students can use the scholarship towards the financial guarantee, which is good news. So if you get, just throwing a random scholarship out there, and this is not one that we have, but if you get a $10,000 scholarship, you can take $59,600 of financial guarantee less $10,000, and then you'll just have to provide the remaining funds for the I-20. And there are no fully funded scholarships available at SIA. All students will have to pay for a part of tuition, whether that be through out of pockets, loans, grants, scholarships that they may find, or other various means in order to cover the remainder of tuition. And there are no graduate assistant or teaching assistant positions within the School of International Affairs specifically. There may be some available at Penn State University more broadly, but that is not something that we can really help with. We can point you in the right direction, but we can't assist in getting these graduate assistantships for you. A lot of times our students are not getting graduate assistantships until maybe the second semester or the second year. So I just want to set the expectation that a lot of times students are not getting them within the first semester, and it does take a lot of legwork given how competitive these are. It takes, again, it just takes a lot of work to get some of these GAs. If you do get a GA, then they provide a lot of benefit to you. All right, and that is the end of all of the information that I have for you. I see that there are some questions coming in now, and please feel free to use that Q&A box to ask any questions based on any of the information or anything else that you'd like to ask, maybe about State College or University Park, the environment here, the atmosphere, how people are, those types of things, living, apartments, et cetera. Feel free to ask questions about that. We do want to invite you to apply or connect with us in any other way. Christy or myself are happy to meet with you on an individual basis if you're interested in something like that, to answer your questions one-on-one. That's a great way to, one, we can learn more about you and you can learn more about us. But with that, that's all I have for you. Please ask some questions if you'd like. And I'm going to read through a question here. Hello, I have carefully reviewed your curriculum and I am truly impressed. While I have already submitted my application, I would like to inquire whether students have the opportunity to select elective courses that are not offered at Penn State while studying abroad at a partner university. So anytime you're taking classes, well, first let me answer it this way. Most of the time students are taking classes either here at Penn State, or if they choose to do a study abroad program that is affiliated with Penn State, those credits will transfer back here. It gets a little hairy if you're taking classes at another university while you're a student at Penn State, because we can't guarantee that they will transfer. We always err on the side of they won't transfer because we don't want you to continue to take classes somewhere else and then they never transfer, and then you just spend all this money on a class that doesn't count. So I hope I'm answering your question the way that you're asking it, but typically elective courses are offered here at Penn State, and there are so many classes here at Penn State. I can't imagine you would find another class outside of the university that that you would take that you can't find here specifically. So I hope that helps, but yes. Okay. And again, if you could please use the Q&A box, that would be super helpful for us. Someone asks, how shall we know if we got scholarship or not if we've applied by now? So we will not release decisions until the early parts of February and throughout the remainder of February. If you have already applied to our program, your application is completed in its entirety, you might anticipate hearing back from us in early February. We're going to do our best to get decisions out in early February. And we will also notify of scholarship upon admission. So you'll hear that simultaneously. Another question is, I'm highly impressed with SIA qualities. Thank you. We appreciate that. And then they ask, I did my GRE last week and I scored 323. Any hope for scholarships? So we can't really assess your ability or your qualification for any scholarships without seeing your entire application. So please make sure you apply so that we can see your whole application. Thank you for taking your GRE, and this is a point that I did not make throughout our time today, but we are completely GRE optional. You do not have to submit GRE scores. If you do submit GRE scores, great. We'll look at them, but they have no bearing on your admission. They may help with some scholarships, some additional scholarships. It's not always true, but sometimes those who submit decent GRE scores or fairly good GRE scores typically see higher scholarships come their way. Again, it's not always true. We really have a holistic review process, and we try not to put too much weight on the GRE for a variety of reasons. So, but unfortunately, I can't really give you an assessment now just based on GRE scores. So please apply, and you'll find out through that way. Okay. Are there any other questions that I can answer for you today? And I see that there were a bunch of questions that were already answered, and I think that's great. And if not, I'm happy to give you the rest of your time back. We really appreciate you joining us today. We hope that you found this fruitful and that the information is helpful to you. We do want to invite you to join us in the future for our webinar on best practices in applying to graduate school, particularly for our program. We're really going to walk you through the application and make sure that you have the best information possible to put together the best application possible. And that's something that we're happy to provide you. Before we go here, someone asks, do some classes online? Well, our program is entirely residential. However, sometimes students can take classes online through Penn State World Campus to complete some elective requirements. All of our core classes must be done residentially, but sometimes students can take classes again online, whether that be through a certificate program or not, to complete their electives. If you're an international student, your F1 or J1 visa requires that you take no more than 3 credits per semester online. Let me rephrase that. You don't have to take any online classes, but if you are taking online classes, you can take no more than 3 credits per semester. So that's a consideration for a lot of international students, and that's something that we can work with you on should you decide to come to Penn State. All right. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. And Christy brings up a really good point in the chat here. I see that we do offer an online certificate program. It is 12 credits, and you can complete that at your pace. We offer a few classes per semester towards the certificate. You can take 1 or 2 classes per semester if you'd like. It's traditionally in the fall and spring semesters. But if you're interested in our online certificate program, the link is in the chat currently. Again, it's only 12 credits. If you're a working professional or just can't quite make it to Pennsylvania and you're interested in adding a credential onto your awesome resume, feel free to look at that online certificate program. It's a really great program, and again, it'll really boost your marketability within the job market. All right. Yes, and another good point that Christy raises in the chat, the certificate programs are not eligible for merit-based scholarships. So that's kind of the con of the certificate programs. Really, really great programs, but we don't consider you eligible for scholarship for those programs. Great. All right. Well, there are no other questions that came through. And I will let you go. Again, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And good afternoon, or good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. And cheers. Have a great day. Bye bye.